You know, every single time we talk about AI taking jobs, the entire debate gets totally stuck on the wrong word. We immediately start arguing about income. Like, should we just pay people when machines replace them? But honestly, that's treating the symptom, not the cause. The sharper, way more uncomfortable question is actually about ownership. Because as we're going to see, handing out a monthly check doesn't actually change who gets to keep the real wealth in an automated economy. So today, we're doing a deep dive into the structural blueprint for an ownership model that could actually work. Real models, not just theory. Let's actually start in Alaska. Since way back in 1976, the state has owned this massive investment fund. It's worth roughly $80 billion today, and every single year it pays every full-year resident a dividend, literally just for existing. And the crazy thing? Nobody up there calls this socialism. It's widely understood as a dividend. It's a literal share of something the whole state collectively owns. Here's our blueprint for today. We'll look at the Alaska anomaly, the real limits of UBI, income versus ownership, the social wealth fund, the power of capital, and finally, a new synthesis. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The Alaska Anomaly.
These numbers are wild because they aren't just theoretical. In 2024, the Alaska Permanent Fund paid out $1,702 to every eligible resident. In 2022, it hit over $3,000. Think about that. For a family of 4, that is a massive capital injection. It absolutely proves that universal payouts from collectively held wealth are a completely feasible policy. We're talking functioning administration here, not science fiction.
Moving on to Part 2. The Limits of Universal Basic Income, or UBI.
All right, first things first, we have to acknowledge that the data is pretty clear. The well-being signal of UBI is absolutely real. We've seen it in Finland's 2017 pilot, the SEED program in Stockton, California, and a long-term Give Directly program in Kenya. Even in Iran, they introduced a nationwide cash transfer back in 2010, and economists found zero evidence to support that popular fear that people just suddenly stop working. Actually, some people even expanded their hours. So the idea that basic income totally destroys the work ethic, it largely just ignores the actual evidence.
But here is where the whole thing jams, and I mean it jams hard on scale. A canonical UBI, let's say $12,000 a year for every adult in the US, costs roughly $3 trillion annually. According to the Goldman School of Public Policy, that was about 75% of all federal spending in 2017. Basically, to fund a pure UBI, a government would essentially have to double its tax revenue. And let's be real, that is a monumental, if not impossible, political hurdle.
Plus, UBI is incredibly fragile to political and economic shifts. Let's go back to that Iran example. While it didn't kill labor participation, the transfer fell straight into an inflation trap. The government printed money to cover the deficit, and within just 5 years, inflation literally ate away half the real value of that cash transfer. A payout that has to be fought over and reapproved every single budget cycle is only ever as stable as the next election. And inflation? It can eat it alive.
Which brings us to Section 3, Income versus Ownership.
Look, if AI is replacing human labor, the core question isn't just how much money do the losers get to soften the blow? The actual question we should be asking is, why are they only ever the losers in the first place? Who actually owns the AI capital that replaced the work?
It all boils down to the fundamental difference between a flow and a stock. AI doesn't just eliminate wages. It shifts wealth away from labor and over to capital. An income transfer? That's just a flow. It treats the missing cash. But ownership? Ownership is a stock. It secures permanent wealth. If we don't address the stock, the flow is always going to be a losing battle against the people who own the new tech. UBI isn't wrong. It's just fundamentally incomplete.
Section 4, the Social Wealth Fund.
To really grasp the sheer scale of the ownership problem right now, just look at how wealth is currently distributed. In the US, the top 1% of families owns roughly 40% of the wealth. Meanwhile, the bottom 95% combined owns less than that top 1%. It's like a giant snowball. Wealth naturally begets wealth. If AI concentrates all its massive productivity gains strictly into the hands of the current capital owners, this chart is going to become so much more extreme.
But thankfully, we actually have 2 living proofs of collective ownership operating at scale, though they use completely different payout logics. Like we saw, Alaska pays the citizen directly. Norway, on the other hand, operates this massive sovereign wealth fund worth over $2 trillion. But Norway doesn't write a check to its citizens. Instead, they safely withdraw about 3% a year to fund the state budget and public services.
And Norway brilliantly illustrates the staggering scale that's possible. In 2016, through its funds and state-owned enterprises, the Norwegian state effectively owned 76% of the country's non-home wealth. Think about that. 6 out of every 10 kroners of wealth in Norway is owned by the state. It proves that collective ownership can manage the vast majority of non-home wealth incredibly efficiently, generating massive global returns without destroying the domestic economy.
It becomes absolutely crucial when we look at the AI horizon. Even OpenAI CEO Sam Altman himself has pointed out that the traditional way of progressively taxing income to fight inequality just isn't going to work in an automated future. If AI is producing most of our basic goods and services, income taxes fail because, well, traditional labor income shrinks. We are literally forced to look at taxing and distributing capital instead.
Now, you might be surprised to hear this, but a Citizens AI Wealth Fund is actually a shockingly bipartisan concept. It is so rare to see Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump agree on an underlying premise, but here we are. You have progressive models like Matt Bruenig's American Solidarity Fund, or Senator Sanders' proposal for a 50% equity tax on frontier AI firms. But right alongside them, you've got conservative and market-driven models. Donald Trump's 2025 executive order proposed an AI public wealth fund for passive equity stakes, and Sam Altman pitched an American equity fund paid out in shares to all adults. Ownership for everyone has a progressive reading, meaning shared wealth, but also a market reading, which is essentially a wider expansion of capitalism. We're impartially laying this out because the agreement here is fascinating.
Part 5. The Power of Capital.
We have to confront an uncomfortable reality here. Whoever owns the AI capital also owns the political influence in society. Ownership isn't just about getting a financial return, it's about sovereignty. It gives you a vote, a voice in corporate governance, and a standing in society. So, redistributing ownership? That means fundamentally redistributing power. And because ownership means power, and power is almost never surrendered voluntarily, the open question isn't really whether these social wealth or universal capital models are economically feasible. Alaska and Norway already prove for sure that they are. The real question is whether the political will exists to actually implement them on a broad scale before the AI transition permanently locks in the current distribution of wealth.
Section 6. A new synthesis.
So, what does this all mean? Well, there is no single silver bullet here. The most realistic, robust answer is likely an integrated system, a true combination model. We're talking about providing a universal basic income as a stable consumption floor, supported by a citizens' wealth fund that captures the macro gains of AI, and paired with actual equity stakes granted to citizens. It's not income or ownership. The structural fix is income and ownership.
Because ultimately, an income check that's just meant to soften the blow of losing your job, that just leaves you as a dependent supplicant, either to the state or to a massive corporation. But an equity share in the productive capacity of the nation? That makes you a real, participating owner in the economy.
Whose name is on the deed to the automated future is a choice we just haven't made yet. A check makes you a dependent. A share makes you an owner. Make sure you hit subscribe because this channel explains the machine before it owns you.